So in the late 80s, early 90s, I lived in a bungalow. It was 3 bedroom, and I lived there with 2 young children. The children used to always talk about the old lady they could see in the room, and tell me things that the old lady had told them. It was like an imaginary friend. But one day, my daughter, who was 3 at the time, came to me saying, "You need to let Daddy in, you need to open the door because Daddy's coming." I says, he's not due in from work for another hour. She was very insistent. "The old lady's told me he's coming, the old lady's told me he's going to be at the door." I opened the door to prove that she was wrong, and just as I opened it, her dad walked round the corner. It was all a bit spooky as to how this old lady that nobody else could see had told my daughter to do that. When we were living at the bungalow, we had a fish tank, and we just had goldfish in it. We started off with about 6. Over the course of about a month, these fish started to go missing. It was just a regular fish tank, so nowhere that they could have gone. It had a lid on it. They couldn't jump out, but we could never find these fish. They just disappeared. So we were down to 2 fish, and my brother came to babysit. When we got back, he was telling us that things had been happening in the house. And then he said, "Oh, one of your fish has died." And we looked, and there's still 2 fish floating around. And he said, no, there's a dead fish in there, and it scared me. And when we looked, one of the fish that had been missing was lying at the bottom of the tank, and it had a semicircular bite mark in the side of it, and too big to have been one of the other fish that had bitten it. It was like the size of a human bite mark.
When I was younger, I used to be absolutely convinced that there was like this old traditional Victorian family living behind the door. They never ever did anything. I just remember feeling their presence, and sometimes thought I saw them. They never approached me. They never sort of looked dangerous or scary or anything like that. I think just the presence of something else was what frightened me the most. Weird stuff happened a few times where, my coats would fall off, but it wouldn't seem like there was a way for them to fall down off a hook. Things would go missing around the room, like different toys would be played with, and like I was the only one in the room. And it frightened me, and one day it just sort of suddenly stopped, and I think that's because they knew it was scaring me, even though they weren't trying to be scary. They were just, existing in the same place that I was. I think they then chose to leave, because then, quite literally the next day, there was nothing there. They were gone, and I could sleep with the door closed again, and it was all fine.
So I had a friend stay at my house, and she was looking after my children. She woke up in the middle of the night because she could hear one of the kids' toys. She thought they were playing, so she went in, and it happened that one of the toys was just making a noise. So they tried to switch it off, and it kept making this noise. They thought, oh, the batteries must be running out, so they took the batteries out, thinking that would stop the noise, and it carried on. So she threw it out in the garden and told me she was never staying at my house again.
So I've had a few things happen to me. There was some scissors stabbed into my brother's door in the middle of the night. It was really weird because it was the scissors from the medicine box downstairs, and only me and my mum know where they are, but definitely wasn't either of us. And then another thing is that randomly in the middle of the night, my brother's light bulb just went missing. Like, he went to go turn on his light, and the lamp in the ceiling, it just wasn't there, and it was never found, which is weird. And I think the last thing to happen was that I was cooking my dinner. I felt like a breath of air blow out the fire on the stove. Like, it was literally like as if like someone had like blew it out. I literally felt it on my arm. It wasn't very nice.